Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel, and I've got my first reaction, guys. I just came back from a screening of Dune Part 2. And if my calculations are correct, when you guys are watching this video, it means that I will actually be able to talk about Dune Part 2. Full disclosure, I've seen the original David Lynch film. I have read the book, but I wouldn't call myself a super fan by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a person who likes the original film. I like the book. I really loved the first Dune that came out in 2021 from director Denis Villeneuve. In fact, everything Villeneuve has directed is something that I have loved. So I went into this. It's hard for me to say that I was, that it broke expectations because I had such high expectations. But I'll say this, it is another absolute masterwork. 3 hours, nearly 3 hours of this film. I had goosebumps. I had the hair standing up on my arms. I was just totally involved in what I was seeing. I was so engrossed with what Denis Villeneuve and his co-screenwriter John Spates had put together for this follow-up. I'm a big, my big criticism of Part 1 was literally the fact that I didn't really like where it ended in terms of the novel. Because I felt like, first of all, I felt like we'd gotten pretty far into the book, and how much were you going to actually have for the follow-up? Turns out quite a bit. But also just because I felt like it wasn't really a logical place and they hadn't greenlit Part 2. So having seen Part 2 now elevates my experience of watching the first one, which I saw earlier today again, and then closes that out on a near perfect note. This is a masterwork from Villeneuve. I am in awe. I have seen something special. And Dune Part 2 is the first great movie of 2024. I would argue to say it is going to be a high bar to beat for 2024's remaining 10 months, because this movie is incredible. The action is gorgeous. The cinematography of everything, just even the talking scenes, is fantastic looking. I believe Greg Fraser came back to do this one, who'd worked on the first film. Hans Zimmer introduces a number of new themes to the film that I think musically best the original one. The performances, I mean, people are given more space to work with. I think, you know, we saw a couple of major characters from the first film that didn't make it out of the first film, and so we have got new characters being introduced here. We have Austin Butler as Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. He is the Baron, basically, the nephew of Baron Harkonnen. He's fantastic in the film. There are many times where I couldn't even see Austin Butler. I couldn't see the Elvis standing in front of me because of the great makeup effects. He looks menacing. He looks creepy. He's enjoying what he's doing. And I think, again, having seen the original film from David Lynch, it's a far different take on it than what Sting had, which is something I really appreciate, because I didn't want to think up there like comparing the two, because that Sting performance is wild. We also get to see the Emperor in this film, played by Christopher Walken. I haven't seen a movie with Christopher Walken in years, so I was wondering how he was going to be doing, and he doesn't have a ton of scenes in the film, because, I mean, he is kind of this just overarching presence in the movie. He's great, though. Florence Pugh, who plays the princess, she's wonderful. I can't say enough good about the movie. I honestly can't think of a systematic fault with the film that doesn't just boil down to the logistics of the whole thing. Like, again, I feel like this film ends in a better place than the first one did, because it is the closure of the Dune novel. But you know Villeneuve wants to make Messiah, and so you kind of have his machinations of kind of like leaning the book into that third chapter of his film trilogy, which we probably won't get for a while, because it looks like he wants to make another film first, then come back. So it left me wanting more, but at the same time, it gave me a full meal, and I am so thankful for this movie. It will make more rotations in my watch list. My wife watches the original Dune so freaking often, but now we actually get to watch Part 1 and Part 2 together, which I am very excited about. I don't know that this film is going to bring you in if you weren't a fan of the original film, because it is a lot more of that, but it is a closure of the story, at least for now, until we decide to get our next installment. There's some surprise reveals in the film that I think readers of the book will see coming, but the way in which they're done in the film here, I'm so excited to watch this in a crowded theater of people who haven't read the book, or haven't, don't know the story that they're getting, just to watch how people react to a couple of the different swings here. Another thing too, I'd mention, I feel like the first film covered about 75% of the book. I may be wrong about that, but as I was reading the book, I remember thinking like that's pretty far into to the novel for you to pause after part 1. What are you going to do with part 2? There's not a ton left. Here's the thing about it, though, is that last 150, 200 pages of the book that I remember reading had a lot of, I don't want to say glossed overness, but like the way in which it was written in a way that felt like we can introduce all these elements rather quickly. And again, Villeneuve finds a way to introduce the information that is necessary in a meaningful and I don't know, deliberately helpful way. I think people who haven't read the book are not going to be like, oh, this is too much for me to handle, because I think he feeds you information in a really compelling way. He expounds upon things. I feel like there's a scene in the book that's featured in the trailer, of course, where they're talking about Paul potentially riding a worm. And that sequence in the book, I feel like, was a couple paragraphs. Maybe I was wrong, but it breezed through that part in the books. And in the film takes its time to give us this vista and give us this really amazing set piece that I think works really well. I think there's a lot of montaged kind of elements in the book that were able to be translated in an interesting way. And again, that's why this is a strong adaptation, is because it takes what worked in the book and it reconfigures it to make it work in a movie form. And I think that's something that a lot of people tend to overlook, is the ability to translate what works on the page into something that works in a film, because it's not as simple as just take what the book did. That doesn't work. And when we've seen that not work, we've seen that create boring films in the past. Villeneuve finds a way to, again, cut a little bit of the unnecessary fat from the novel, at least for this film version, and imbue some extra sequences and some extra reconfiguring of the narrative in order to make it filmic. I don't think he sacrifices that much in terms of that, and I think it's created an experience that is wholly unique and original. I'll be honest, I love this movie. I can't wait to watch it again. My wife didn't get to go with me to this press screening, so I will be taking her on opening night, and I'll be watching the movie again. And you know what? To sit through a 2-hour and 45-minute film after I just watched it, I'm excited. I'm excited to see the movie again, to see it with her, see it through her eyes as well, and be able to share in the experience. I hope this theater is going to be packed, because I would love to see an audience that really embraced the film in the way that the critics group that I was with really loved it. We had so much fun today at this Dune 2 press screening, and I gotta say, this is like maybe my first 5 out of 5 film of the year. I've got to take an extra, day to maybe ruminate on my thoughts, but I love this movie and I can't find a fault with it. If I did, I'd be digging for a fault, and I don't even know that I'd find one. So once you've seen Dune Part 2, come on back here and leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Try to keep your thoughts relatively unspoilery down in the comments, or at least give some spaces and stuff, just to let other people kind of take in and enjoy it. I know it's like a 50-year-old book, but I want people to see this on the big screen in the way it was meant to be seen. So come on, share your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're down there, please like and subscribe. There are 2 free things you can do that help support the channel immensely, and you never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can also find goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews. You can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can follow me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And you can find my show. Oh, I'm also on Threads. That's a thing still. You can also check out my show, Kyle and Nick on Film, that I co-host with Nick Plotachuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. I think we might be doing an episode on Dune Part 2, so look forward to that pretty soon. You can find the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance, which I am a member of, down in the comment section as well. We've got all those links down in the description. We'll see you next time.